I want to welcome everybody to another episode of Nowie. Today we're going to talk to Doug. He runs the Marshfield area Purple Angels. Doug, thank you for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for inviting me to be here today.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about them, about what it is.
All right. People might be familiar with the Purple Angel symbol. You might see that around town in some different places on different signage, but it's really become the global symbol of dementia awareness.
Okay.
And when I say dementia, a lot of people don't understand what that really means either, but if you say Alzheimer's disease, people recognize that as that's a form of dementia. And there are many types of dementia. So the Purple Angel represents all of those. And I wanted to bring that awareness to the Marshfield community. So 11 years ago, I started the Marshfield area Purple Angels. And we bring dementia awareness, education, support for caregivers, and also support for people living with dementia right here to the Marshfield community.
So it's not just what like some people would think as just something for like the people with Alzheimer's or dementia to do, but you also support the caregivers that are there.
Yes, a big part of our mission is to support the caregivers. And we're really focused on family caregivers or people that are caring for somebody who are still living at home, maybe in their own home, or maybe moved in with family, or maybe family has moved back in with them. So it's really for those that are kind of at the earliest stages of dementia, whether that's Alzheimer's disease, it might be vascular dementia. There's, like I said, many different types. Parkinson's disease usually comes with a type of dementia. There's Lewy body dementia. So some of these names people might be familiar with, some people aren't, but a lot of people know the word Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
So, and that's just one type of dementia. And that one is, very familiar to people as a memory loss disease, where people lose memory, they forget people that they've loved and known all their lives, and they kind of have a really difficult time communicating and kind of being present in the real time, because a lot of times their memory is taking them back in time, because the parts of their brain that are working are maybe making them think that they're back in childhood again.
And it can be challenging for them and for the caregivers and other people that of their loved ones, people who expect them to have a certain expectation on how they live or how they'll react to things, and it's never quite how everybody wants it to be on either side of the fence. So it's a much needed thing that you guys do. So can you tell me about the origin story? I know you kind of touched on it, but
so it kind of goes off of what you just said, kind of not knowing a lot about the disease itself when you hear the word dementia or even Alzheimer's disease. My family went through that. So my mom was showing signs and symptoms that were kind of, concerning to us. Things like her finances were getting confused and mixed up. She was missing bills. Her checking account kept getting overdrawn, and I, wasn't really sure why. But she was also forgetting lots of things, forgetting to go to appointments. I would see her struggling to make a phone call with the phone book using the remote control, trying to call somebody, and just really struggling with the basic day-to-day tasks. So we knew something was going on. We had her see her doctor. Her doctor referred her to a neurologist. They did some testing, some very simple tests that they can do. And at the end of that appointment, that particular neurologist said, well, your mom has Alzheimer's disease, probably. It's some form of dementia. It looks like Alzheimer's disease, and she's probably halfway into the disease already. So that's one thing we learned really quickly, is that, the early signs of dementia and Alzheimer's disease and some of these other forms of dementia are missed by people as just kind of, signs of old age, growing older, forgetting names, forgetting words, repeating yourself, telling the same story over and over again. At the very beginning stages, these little things, can really be kind of kept hidden.
Yeah.
People compensate for it. So my mom was
yeah.
doing things, to try to hide things. She was writing notes for herself that we found much later. I mean, even after she died, I found a notebook where she started writing down, this is where I'm putting stuff, this is where the keys are, this is where my and it says, in case I forget, she wrote on there. So she knew something was going on, but she wasn't really, telling us or her doctors that she was having these troubles. So by the time we got it diagnosed, she was already quite a long ways into the disease. And so that's part of the raising awareness for people, bringing it to the community, is to start talking about this sooner so people can recognize the symptoms sooner and get treatment sooner. There are a couple medications out there, for example, but they only work for the earliest stages, and they only work for a certain period of time. And then after that, they're really not as helpful anymore. So the sooner you can get treatment and get the diagnosis, I think the better it is.
Yeah, that's rough. That really is. Working in healthcare, I see a lot of adult children trying to grasp the idea of this is a stage of their parents aging,
right?
And they don't want to accept the fact that that their parents are getting brittle in their lives.
Right.
As we all age, we all end up needing a little bit of help.
Right.
And it's difficult. It really is. And
right.
like I said, this is a major, important thing to make awareness. Can you tell me about kind of like if I had a family member that had Alzheimer's or dementia, or we were thinking about it, and I came to the Purple Angels.
Mm-hmm.
Can you walk me through what would happen? Like, how would it be? How would it go? Like programs or anything like that?
Right, sure. And I'm a real big proponent of peer support. So I actually do that for a living in different fields, and I find that I can carry that over into like caregiving for family members, especially with somebody with dementia, because I learned a lot in caring for my mom.
Yeah.
That I'm able to kind of share some of that information, so I really become kind of like a peer support for them. That's like the first thing. So people that reach out to us either through our website, our email address, Facebook, my phone number is out there too, which we'll probably put up on the screen later in the show. If people can contact me and they just call me and they say, my father, my husband, my mother, my grandmother, somebody was recently diagnosed with dementia. We really don't know what to do. And there's a lot of concerns, like can people be left alone? Can they continue driving? Can they be safe with medications, cooking? That's another big one, leaving the stove on, right? There's all these things that tend to start happening, wandering, people leaving. So my mom was doing that, leaving the house, and my neighbors would let me know.
Yeah.
And I was like, we see her all over the place. And I thought that wasn't happening. So, so sometimes we're missing some of that. But there's all these questions and all these fears that people have. So that's usually like some of the first contact is like, I'm really overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. I'm afraid. A lot of the first things people say to me is like, I don't know what I'm going to do when my mom no longer recognizes me. That's one of the biggest questions that we get. That's going to be so hard. And it is a really hard thing to face when a loved one no longer knows your name or knows that you're their son. It's very difficult, right? And these things do happen with dementia, and particularly with Alzheimer's, where it really impacts the memory. So beyond that, just kind of letting people share their concerns, kind of sharing my story. I point them to other resources that are in the community. So one of the biggest resources I tell people to go to right away is the Aging and Disability Resource Center, so the ADRC. Yeah. That's sort of the gateway to any program for seniors. So that's, getting health care, getting help with appointments, who's a specialist in the area that we could see. So the ADRC is really helpful with that. And they have dementia specialists there too that work directly with families, and they have access to all kinds of resources in the community because they serve a much wider base than we do. They're like 4 counties, so Wood County is together with like 3 other counties. So
they have the larger resource,
right.
the larger bucket or well.
Yeah, so they just cover a bigger area, and they also connect people to like programs out there. So that might be getting somebody into respite care. It might be getting somebody onto Medicaid. if they qualify for that, or into family care. We're going to hire some caregivers to come in, or the IRIS program. So that's kind of your first step to
and
get
what's
some
the
of those
IRIS program,
Well,
if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, it's
Sorry
the same,
to catch you off guard.
It's the same kind of program that you have for like family care, where family care is, you have to sign up with an organization, and there's a couple of them that cover this part of the state, and you get usually a case manager, somebody that helps with medical stuff, but they will get you into programs that you might need, services. They help pay for like home care, things like that.
Okay.
IRIS is the same block of money. It's just that it goes to the individual, and that individual can hire who they want. So that's the program I chose for my mom. We did the IRIS program, as opposed to like family care and going through a managed care organization. I know we're getting kind of into the weeds here, but these are a lot of questions that come up with people, and kind of picking which one is right for you. So some people choose to be the caregiver for their family members, and you can get paid to do that, and that you can only do that through the IRIS program.
Okay.
The family care program is usually the money goes to an organization like a home care agency where you can hire people to come in.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're a wealth of knowledge on that.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it than that. I'm simplifying quite a bit.
Yeah.
So that's why I always say go to the ADRC, because they are the experts in all of those types of programs. And things like, well, what about advanced directives? And what about wills? And what are we going to do with all this when mom can no longer sign her name to legal documents? It's like, yep, you want to get all that stuff together as soon as you can, because just a diagnosis of dementia or Alzheimer's alone is not enough to declare a person incompetent. They can still make decisions. Yeah. They can still sign legal documents. They can still do an advanced directive and say how they want their care and end of life to be handled. They can still do all those things. It's only at to the point when two doctors deem somebody incompetent, where they no longer can make safe decisions. Once that document is signed, then that's usually when your health care of a power of attorney takes over, or maybe a guardianship comes into play. So, you still have time at the early part. So I always tell people that's really important too, is to get all that documentation in place so that you don't have those struggles later on.
What I found through my experiences with my own mother, with her dementia and confusion, and it was never a true diagnosis, but she went from a 1 week of knowing who I am to another week of not knowing any of us. Right. She ended up going to a rehab for strengthening, which made decisions more easier for me and my brother, because we constantly had those conversations. She even beforehand about, well, how would you want your end of life to be? How would you want this to go? What kind of quality of life? Right. And I think that had to do with the fact that, one, I work healthcare, so when those questions arise, it's never I need to find out now. Mm-hmm. It's one of those, you need to be prepared and have that knowledge base, and touch base with that with your loved ones. Mm-hmm. So I can see having those not being able to have those conversations, or not even contemplating having those conversations ahead of time, can definitely make life a struggle when when those decisions need to be made. Right. So we were talking about community education. Like, how do you spread the awareness? Like, I know that you say people call you, but is there things that you do?
Yeah, I mean, prior to COVID, we had a lot more going on. So, ever since COVID happened, we haven't had any workshops or classes, or we used to do a yearly sort of seminar. Mm-hmm. I have speakers come. I haven't restarted that, but in the future, I hope to bring that back and start doing more of that. But we do have a monthly program, which is called the Memory Cafe, and those are pretty popular. Lots of communities have memory cafes. Marshfield has 2 of them. So I know the Marshfield Area Respite Care Center, in partnership with Stony River, they have one on I think the second Wednesday of the month. But you want to check your websites and make sure you Google that, and you probably make sure that's accurate. And then we have one on the first Thursday of the month. And so basically what memory cafes are, they're just kind of places where people can gather. So it's for people with dementia, Alzheimer's disease, memory loss, kind of even in the early stages too. And they can come together with their family caregivers, friends, supporters, neighbors, whoever wants to be there. Some people bring 3 or 4 people with them. Some people bring 1, and that's okay too. And we get together in a safe, engaging environment where we understand what dementia is.
Right.
You know, so one of the big things with dementia, like particularly with Alzheimer's, like, and I've seen it in my mom's case, is like they get to the point where it's like we almost want to protect them, and we overly protect them because, you know, we don't want them to embarrass themselves, right? So we don't want them to start, you know, standing up in the middle of a church service and start saying something or walking away, or maybe we take them out to a restaurant. They're like, oh, they spilled the coffee, or they're just, you know, just acting strange behavior. So we kind of like safeguard them to kind of protect their dignity, and we sort of self-isolate. And also, as the disease progresses too, fewer and fewer people come to visit, neighbors, even some family members. It's like, you know, I just want to remember grandma the way she was right before she gets to the point. Or some people don't want to get to the point where they don't recognize me anymore, right? And that's too painful. So it's like, you know, I don't come to visit as much as I should because it's really hard to see somebody in that state because they're slowly fading away in front of you. So it's very difficult. So the whole disease itself becomes very isolating on both sides of that equation. So these memory cafes also serve as a place to come out, socialize, kind of have some normal interactions with people, you know, because some of these things are things that our brains remember, right? I used to go into nursing homes too before COVID, and you know, do some programs in some of the memory care units, and be like, oh, you know, you don't have to include Joe, or you don't have to include Mary because, you know, they're not really going to be able to play bingo. They're not really going to be able to play cards or whatever.
And you're like,
activity
yes, I
we're
do.
doing. Sometimes I really engage them anyway, but sometimes I go up to the person that's just kind of sitting there for their head down, maybe their eyes are closed, but you go up and introduce yourself, and then you stick out your hand like this. Just about everybody
Reaches
remembers
out.
that, and that's like a social
I know.
connection, right?
I had to prevent myself from shaking your hand just now.
And when you get together with a cup of coffee, you have some cookies, you're at a church maybe, it's kind of like a dinner, it's kind of like going out. You know, people recognize these social cues, and they really sort of bring some life back into them. So bringing them back out into the community, give them that safe place to do it. But at the same time, we understand if your wife has to get up and walk around and pace, or if she, you know, sometimes we're doing a program and we're doing music or we're calling bingo or something, and I have somebody with dementia that comes up right by me and they want to help. And that's absolutely fine. It's not, you don't have to sit down in your chair. It's like we encourage people to come out. They can help in the kitchen if they want, as long as they're safe, right? We make sure that they're engaged in these social activities because that's what they want to do. And so that's a big part of the Memory Cafe, is to have these safe places where people with dementia can come out. But it's also focused on the caregiver. So caregivers get to meet other caregivers. They get to, you know, support each other, learn from each other, ask questions.
So I have a question. For the cafe that Purple Angels runs, is it invitation where you have to like contact you or the group to like, or do they just show up?
Our particular Memory Cafe is open to the public. No reservation needed. You do not have to contact me in advance.
Okay.
So I mentioned that my mom had Alzheimer's disease and also vascular dementia and possibly something else. You know, like you said, there's no true diagnosis ever, and usually they can't do that unless there's an autopsy at the end, and they'll look at the brain and they can maybe determine what type of dementia it was. So we didn't go that route anyway, but we were told Alzheimer's, probably vascular dementia, just because of some of the things that were happening. They can kind of go by the symptoms. But we have people come, and you don't have to sign up for it. You just kind of show up. And my mom was somebody who liked to have people over to the house. She'd have parties, Christmas parties. We always hosted something, graduation parties. There was always something going on at our house. And she always had more than enough food for everybody. So we planned for whoever, you know, if people want to come and have lunch with us, we always have plenty enough food to have people just walk in if they want to.
Nice.
Yeah.
So where would you, for yours, it's open to the public, where is it?
So our Memory Cafe is held on the first Thursday of each month. It starts at 11 o'clock a.m. It goes all the way until 2, but we have a motto that says, come when you can, leave when you need to, so if you can't stay for the whole time, because it involves that social time. We usually have some music. We always have a meal, like a full meal. We just had Thanksgiving dinner for our November one. Christmas, we're going to have another big Christmas dinner kind of party. So, and we have like usually some activities and things that are going on. So it's a nice event. So a lot of people stay the whole time.
And where is it hosted at?
And it's hosted at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church in Marshfield, and that is the church that's up on McMillan, next to the YMCA. People kind of know where that is.
Yeah.
And like I said, we gather at 11. We eat at 12:30. We have activities throughout all the way up until 2 o'clock.
Nice.
And so you can kind of come and go as you need to.
So, what kind of challenges are you guys facing right now?
Well,
you were talking about COVID and how COVID's really put a damper on everything, and you got to build that momentum back up.
Right. That was like a big change, COVID, because we were able to do more programs in the community back then, and I think that's slowly coming back to it. But even reopening our memory cafe after it was closed for several months because of COVID, we started having them outside once the weather was nice, and then I think probably by the end of the year we were back to having them again, and even so that you get comfortable kind of holding events again. Not everybody wants to come out, and it's not just because of COVID, it's just because we got comfortable being at home, and so it's like, a lot of people don't really venture out for many things anymore as much as they used to, and you see that with lots of things. So that's always been a challenge, to get more people to get the word out. So if people know somebody that has dementia, or they're caring for a family member with Alzheimer's disease, or maybe an unknown dementia diagnosis, that if they let them know about the Purple Angels, that we're always welcoming new people to come, see what it's like. You learn about other programs and things that we're having. We share community resources there too. We usually have a table of information. So they have a chance to talk with me, they have a chance to talk with other caregivers. So it's really a great event if people want to come out and have questions, or they need support for caring for somebody with dementia.
Are you able to tell me a success story? I know that's kind of hard to determine, but because like with like a rehab or drug rehab, there's always a beginning and more of an end story. So it's kind of hard to say a success story. You got any?
Well, yeah, I got a couple success stories. One that comes to mind is, like I mentioned, how we really kind of focus on some of the caregivers too at our events. It's just as much for the caregiver it is for the person with dementia or Alzheimer's that comes to our memory cafe. And we had this one time, these two ladies, they each had a husband with Alzheimer's disease. So they would come and they would talk to each other and support each other. Her husband passed away, and they kept saying, "Well, still come," and she came. And then when the second lady's husband passed away, they still came for a while, and they supported each other, but they supported other people there too. So they were talking to other husbands and wives that were caring for somebody, and kind of being a role model and inspiration for them. And I always think that's a big success story, when you can get caregivers to connect with each other, where they're supporting each other in between our monthly events, is a big success story. We also had people that had different, family members with different types of, very strange dementias, like frontal temporal dementia, which is something people don't really know about. It's an early onset. And so, we were able to connect with her and her family and get her resources and information about it. And now every year she does a fundraiser for us, which is really good. And we've been in contact with that family, even though her father passed away a number of years ago. She does this in memory of her, much like I do the Purple Angels in memory of my mom.
Wonderful. So, we're running out of time.
Yeah.
We've hit almost everything. I wanted to give you an opportunity to tell the public how they could get a hold of you if they wanted to donate or volunteer, or even if they have someone. You can look at the camera and tell them.
Well, we are an all-volunteer organization, so we have no paid staff. So every dollar, every penny we get as a donation is used on our programs. But we have a very small budget, and we don't really need much, so we're able to do these monthly events and have that available. But if people want to reach out, if they want to get involved, if they want to attend our events, you can find me on Facebook. So we have a Marshfield Area Purple Angels Facebook page. We have a website. And we also have my phone number. Should I give it out right now? Or
if
can
you
have
want,
it.
I mean,
yes, you can call me directly.
I was going to say, you got to remember, this is syndicated.
715-383-0897, and you can reach me. And we do have people reach us from other communities that have Marshfield in their name. And they're like, is this Marshfield, Massachusetts? No, it's Marshfield, Wisconsin. And they go, oh, okay. But I'm still willing to talk to anybody that wants to reach out. We certainly could use more people to come, because when you have an event, you don't want just people with Alzheimer's there. You want them to be able to interact and socialize with people. So they have what we call ambassadors to the community that will come out. So if you just want to come and and share some good memories and some good times with some people, you should come out to our Memory Cafe and check it out.
I should. I should bring some people. Before we go, is there anything that you wanted to touch on that we haven't yet?
Well, I just wanted to say that Marshfield Area Purple Angels is part of a much bigger group. And so this whole thing started by a gentleman who lives outside of London in a small community, and he was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia. So he started going into the community and letting people know that he had Lewy body dementia, and coming up with, like, if you see me, confused, or if you see me lost, point me back home, or if I accidentally leave your store without paying for something, this is why. And that started this whole movement of just dementia-friendly awareness in communities. And I want to give a shout out to Norm, and he's the one that came up with the Purple Angel symbol, the name, and we got permission to be part of his group. And there's about 80 or so countries that are involved with him, and we all have get together, we all communicate with each other, and we share kind of what we're doing in our communities. And so we follow his model, and it's a great program, and we have information about that on our website too if people are interested.
That's wonderful. So it's not just isolated to just Marshfield. It's nation international.
Yeah, and
almost.
Global, yes.
And that's wonderful.
Yep.
Well, I want to thank you, Doug. This has been wonderful. I love the information. And hopefully people can use it.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me.
No problem.
Thanks.
You're welcome.